This is Straight from the Source. I'm Haley Watts, and with me today is Greg Jones, Tehama County supervisor. Greg, thank you for being here, first of all. Of course, as a supervisor, there's so many things we can talk about, but you're also, got to tell everybody, you're also a longtime Watts family friend.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I think your in-laws, their grandparents, were best friends with my grandparents, and my sister is best friends with your sister-in-law, I believe.
Okay, so I've heard so many, you know how your spouses, we always talk about, oh, grandma, my grandparents are immigrants from Scotland and Italy, and I also always heard from Grandma Fanny that she, grew up in the Dust Bowl era and, just had these tough roots, and to get to this place where she and her husband, they were so successful. They had a great house in Corning.
Yes, they did.
My grandpa-in-law was a successful business owner. Tell me your memories of them and your grandparents together.
I might have been too young to remember that. I do
Yeah.
remember playing golf with Jim and Fanny
Okay.
and my grandparents. I did have the fortunate opportunity when I came home from grad school to see if I wanted to farm, to accompany my grandmother to a sorority
Okay.
that was hosted by Jim and Fanny in Corning.
Oh, really?
And Bob and Linda May, I got to meet a gentleman named Bud Gott, who was a big figure in Corning. And all I can say is they were a joy. I think Jim was one of the more comical individuals I've ever met.
Yeah. I was lucky enough. I met my husband in 2016. So Grandpa Jim, I only met him, I knew him for about a year. But yeah, we had a lot of good Christmases over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so my sister Mindy tells me, she told me a few little interesting things about you that ChatGPT didn't happen to bring up. Of course, we use ChatGPT to research our guests.
Well, thanks for letting me know. I'm curious what it said about me.
Well, no, so Mindy was the one who told me that you spent some time on an Italian submarine or something like this?
Not an Italian submarine.
Okay, give me the straight details here.
Well, I did want to go to college, but somehow I found myself in the Navy at 18 years old.
Wow, okay.
And it taught me Arabic, and I ended up being a cryptologist in the submarine service. And the last year of the time that I spent in the Navy, I got to be a guest in the Spanish Navy, not the Italian Navy.
Okay.
And so I was on 3 Agosta-class submarines in 2002, 2003. Very different, much smaller, single story, diesel-powered, no potable water.
Wow.
It was enjoyable.
How long were you underwater?
I think the longest I was at one time was 106 days on the Boise. In the Spanish Navy, they were 30 to 35 days.
Okay.
No showers. I think soldiers would probably think that I'm complaining about that, but that's a long time for a sailor.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what does a cryptologist do below the ocean?
Well, the language portion of it, you would decrypt phone calls and
Okay.
signals and send out reports.
Yeah.
I'm not the most technical person, so I don't know that side of it, but
Right.
from the language point, there was very specific language and military jargon that we would learn, yes.
This sounds like Indiana Jones or some Spielberg movie, right? Like this cryptologist under the sea spending hundreds of days, in a submarine.
At the time, I wouldn't have viewed it that way,
Sure.
but in hindsight, it was one of the more memorable experiences of my life. And the dolphin pin I got when I qualified on the Boise is still one of my most proud achievements.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the pin and exactly what it signifies.
It's there's surface warfare, air warfare, and subsurface warfare. It means that you're a basic operator or qualified as a basic operator on every position of a submarine.
Okay.
So, yes.
So, spending time, you were in the Navy. What was your transition back to more civilian life?
Well, I came back. I think my whole life I wanted to come home and farm. And when I got out of the Navy, Dad still thought it would be best that I pursued other things.
Okay.
And I found myself going to school in Indiana. For better or worse, most of the Arab diaspora in the United States is in the Midwest. And I thought I would study in a Near Eastern Studies program. And I fell in love with Bloomington. When I separated from the Navy, my sister and I took a road trip across the country, and we went through Ann Arbor, Columbus, and Bloomington, and I thought Indiana was the place I should go. Started school, took an economics course, and like many people, the framework of cost-benefit analysis was something that I innately think, and so I fell in love with that, and I ended up dual majoring.
Okay, cost benefit analysis.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you give, I mean, do you do this for insurance companies, or is it this like a psychology life skills thing, like weighing the cost of your decisions? How do you use that in real life?
I think it's valuable. I think a lot of, it's actually one of the things we haven't gotten to yet, but I've taught for almost 19 years this spring, economics at the college and university. It's a wonderful thing to teach because so often if you teach political science or religion or finance, people come to the classroom with beliefs that are well formed and mature, and I find that a lot of young people don't really know what economics is. My wife got me a book by Emily Oster when she was pregnant with our daughter Kennedy.
Okay.
And it was about the economics of pregnancy. And in the preface of the book, she described economics as the soft science of decision making.
Interesting.
And I really believe that. When I teach, I try to mathematize.
Yeah.
Is that the correct word?
Sure.
Because I don't think it's a concept that is valuable for students studying economics. My colleagues might say it's because I needed a tutor in my calculus courses, but I think math oftentimes gives a false sense of precision in the field of economics, and we can't do that. But it is a wonderful thing for people to understand and how they make decisions.
Yeah. So, okay. When I think of like the economy, right, I think about the money being spent, right, by people and by governments, and like I think of numbers, I think of math, but economics can apply to a lot more than the flow of money, right? I mean, what is like the whole concept? What does it mean?
It's at the tip of my tongue, but I think economics, the word comes from the Greek word for household.
Okay.
And what's the most efficient way for a family to divide the tasks within a household to achieve that outcome?
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably what I would say economics is.
Of course, in high school, the home ec class is like that's where we baked stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I guess that's one of the duties of the household, right?
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm married to a controller. She makes fun of my formulas in the Excel spreadsheets. So I cannot help you in the stock market. I cannot help you with your finances. But I would like to think that I can help you make decisions better.
Controller like the job, not like a controlling person.
No, heavens no. No. Yeah, like a CFO.
My husband might say I'm married to a controller, but no.
Nope, she is my perfect complement. Everything I am not.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm hoping my husband would actually say that too, you know, in a public forum at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're teaching economics right now, and you're helping young people kind of make it's like a risk benefit analysis that can really apply to any decision you make in life, right? From
Correct.
purchasing a new car to proposing to someone that you love, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it something that anytime you make a decision, do you feel like you really put a ton of thought and intention into it as a result of your education in this?
Probably not. I think I'm the opposite of my wife. I think she plans, and I'm more spontaneous.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you guys are a good complement.
Of course.
Yeah. That's how Danny and I are too. I plan everything, and it's all strategic and thought out. And he so just wings it in life, and he's so present, and it's beautiful. But it would be too chaotic without me, right? And I would be way too rigid without him reminding me, like, come on, let's just randomly go do this thing, or let's just be in this moment.
I had no idea what a calendar was before I was married. Yeah.
Yes, it's good. That's what they say, the opposites attract thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but you teach it, and then also you spend, the extra free time that you have just, running the county a little bit, District 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was something that was never on the list of things to do.
Okay, how'd it come up?
Well, I was in the classroom. I've told the story to a lot of people that have asked. I was in the classroom one day, and I got a phone call from people in the district asking if I would consider running, and I thought it was outrageous. And so I forwarded the voicemail to my wife, and when I got home, she had designed a campaign sign.
Oh, okay.
So I knew I was in trouble.
Yes.
But there, broadly speaking, I thought it was important. I taught a course for about 8 years on work, wealth, and inequality. And it talks a lot about different philosophies about where wealth and income come from. And I end on something that is called the Lee thesis. There was a gentleman named Lee Kuan Yew, the Prime Minister of Singapore, who made it from one of the most impoverished countries in the world to something so rich, they write books about how rich it is. And there wasn't a single Democratic election in those 52 years that he served as prime minister.
Okay.
And oftentimes we say that democracy and voting are sacrosanct, but maybe we don't participate in the institutions that our republic has. And with conviction, I've been to very few city halls, I've been to very few county chambers. I would vote every 2 years or in midterms, but I often didn't pay attention to the things that were down ballot.
Right.
That was my wife's duty. She was the school board member and the volunteer, and I got to farm and read in the background. And so I thought it would be a great time to serve and participate. And so here I am,
Yeah.
a year and a half into my term.
Okay, wait, so many questions out of everything you just said. What was the secret to who you were talking about in terms of creating wealth over the course of, 50 years from poverty?
Well, I don't know if I can answer that question, but I would say that in his view, people prefer to have economic outcomes over political agency.
Interesting.
And I think in the United States, we have all these platitudes, give me liberty or give me
Right.
death, or I regret that I
Right.
have one life for my country. And I think there's a general feeling that our institutions are failing, that our system is broken, that it doesn't provide the outcomes that make people better off.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that. And I think one of the ways to make our institutions vibrant is to participate and talk and discuss and
Right.
try to make things better.
I always feel that way too, especially at the local level, because I feel like a lot of people feel like they see what's happening at the Capitol, whether in Sacramento or Washington, D.C., and they just feel like it's their governor, their president isn't accessible to them, right? But their mayor probably would give them 5 minutes to sit down over a cup of coffee and talk about some of the issues. Or you could go to a city council or county supervisor meeting and speak in public comment and genuinely be heard and
Correct.
have your concerns be actually considered.
And most of the decisions that impact our lives directly come from,
Yeah.
the county, the city, and Sacramento.
Yeah. What do you see at those county supervisor meetings when it comes to like public engagement? Do a lot of people show up?
No, I am surprised at how few people pay attention to the county.
Yeah.
Although I can empathize. I think groundwater is one of the biggest issues in my county, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I often think that the people that do come are concerned or have interest in singular issues, and the county specifically is so broad and the scope of work is so big
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people misunderstand what we do and what we provide.
Well, so it's funny because you talk about groundwater, right? And I think most people's just eyes glaze over when they hear like about Sigma, right?
Yeah.
And like groundwater sustainability agencies and what's going on. And then suddenly now you have to register your wells, right? And you're getting all these big fees and charges. And I think that people just get mad because everything else feels so complex that all they know is, hey, you want more money from me.
Sure. And I think it's ubiquitous. I think at every level people think that government doesn't create outcomes that make them flourish
Yeah.
or make them better off. So this is viewed as one more
Right.
thing that's an impediment.
But Sigma could be a really good thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially for the little guy. To
Yeah.
me, from what I understand about it, it's like probably protecting us from like the big farmers, right? The over drillers. I don't know if Tehama County really has any of those over drillers, but it's the same. The groundwater, California's groundwater. Isn't it intertwined?
I'd probably separate the pressure to consolidate and scale an industry
Yeah.
and groundwater. Yes, groundwater is a serious issue. I think I was unaware of it because I live in Los Molinos and my house well is 20 feet and we pump 2,500 gallons a minute at 65 feet.
Okay.
But overdraft and the consequences of it on the west side of our county,
Yeah.
and I think it's from Yolo, Solano, Colusa, Glen,
Yeah.
and in my home, are real.
Right.
And I think the way that we should view it is try to start in a position of empathy between homeowners and farmers.
Sure.
I think homeowners and farmers have more in common than they think. A home and a farm often is the primary source of wealth
Yeah.
for both. And a lack of access to groundwater threatens that. And
Yeah.
so I think they start from a position of angst and anxiety that is threatened. But we do need to achieve sustainable outcomes. There aren't great answers. And Sacramento has not given us a revenue stream to fund our groundwater sustainability agency, or really the levers and mechanisms to achieve solutions. As far as scaling and big and small farmers, I think that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
I think farming is not impervious to the pressures of every other industry in the economy. As we become more advanced technologically, as we automate and mechanize, those things are expensive.
Yeah.
The initial cost is high, but then the marginal cost of production is lower.
Right.
And it gives advantages to large farmers. And so I'd like to separate those two things. Smaller farmers do operate at smaller margins, so paying fees for administrative and project management actions will be a pressure for small farmers. And I would like to think that we can walk that tightrope.
Yeah.
And assuage their concerns and help them thrive.
Are we seeing in Tehama County like fewer small farmers, like smaller farms getting bought up by the big guys?
Yes. And of course, I would say that size is relative. I think, the 30-acre farmer will look at the gentleman or gentlewoman with 300 acres and think they're big. And somebody with 1,500 acres might look at somebody, or somebody with 300 acres would look at the farmer with 1,500 as big. And I think if you genuinely ask some of the largest farmers in the North State, they too would say that they're just family farms.
Right.
Because they'll look at things like Nuveen or private equity that is buying up ag land as an investment management arm. And so that's difficult, what is big and small. But I would say yes, the idea that there are a bunch of small family farms is something that's becoming scarce.
It's weird because, I mean, I don't really have a stake in it, right? Whether there are a bunch of small family farms in Northern California, or if it's all owned and operated by one or two billionaires. But for some reason, it's heartbreaking to think about.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea. Like earlier you were talking about wealth and poverty, and how some people have all the money and then the majority is just kind of struggling to get by. And it bums me out to see these smaller farmers just to take the deal from the big guy, because it's like, well, that's a guaranteed great paycheck there. I can retire. My kids didn't want to be farmers. It makes sense to just be done. But I hate the idea of a couple billionaires getting to make all the decisions when it comes to farming or anything.
Sure. I think we all have, and it's not just Americans. You could go to France or Japan or anywhere else, and there's a romantic attachment to farming, a connection to the past.
Yeah.
But if we move from agriculture and go to manufacturing or go to technology, we have fewer and fewer actors that are engaged in that activity.
Yeah.
And I think we're better off for it. They can produce things more abundantly and at low cost, and that's a system we should, and not interrupt. I think we need to make sure that we have ways to address those who are displaced. But I'm a believer in free markets and those outcomes.
Sure.
And I think in the long run, it creates better outcomes for people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe in capitalism, and I have to. I'm here, like, I don't know, it feels like 60 hours a week sometimes. I don't have time to run around and go shop, and I love having small businesses thrive in downtown Chico.
Yeah.
However, I'm sorry, but if I need a pink skirt of a certain size by a certain date, I'm pretty sure none of those stores downtown have it, and if they do, it's going to be probably like $200, and Amazon has one for $15, and it's there now, and it'll show up at my door tomorrow. And so it's like, that's the better business model. Right? It saves time, it saves money, both which are precious to me. And so I have to value my own life and my time and schedule over the like you said, the romanticized idea of, I love the small business and this local family. That's great, but I'm also on a budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough.
I don't know if it's better. I think there was an economist that wrote a book from MIT, A Race Against the Machine. And he said if you were going to create an economic system, you would want to create something that created abundance at low cost and better quality. And I think we do that. There are real costs to families.
Yeah.
I think the pace of technology has accelerated, and the cost of the change in how we do things has real impacts on families. It's always been the case
Yeah.
for the last 250 years, but I think it's gotten quicker, and I think we need to ensure that the policies we have address those things without impeding the progress that we do have in our economy.
Like the policies that like the government sets essentially to regulate businesses?
Sure, or maybe education. We're moving into an information age.
Yeah.
I think, to give just an example, I know Pope Leo XIV just wrote a paper cautioning against the embrace of AI.
Oh, yeah.
That it can be disruptive socially. We need to be careful. He took his name after Leo the 13th at the end of the 20th century, and he wrote a similar paper about we should slow the embrace of industrial manufacturing because of its cost on the families.
Yeah.
And I think that's misplaced. And if I go back to education, I think our current education system was designed to meet the needs of industrialism.
Okay.
We strip mine our children for singular skills. There isn't an education system in the world that doesn't emphasize math in education most. And we slowly teach you from the neck up, or waist up, then the neck up, and then slightly to one side. And the tragedy of that is so many of our young people who are not born with those innate or intrinsic abilities benignly feel that they have less worth.
Yeah,
and
I'm terrible at math.
Yeah, me too. But maybe one of the things we could do is change the way that we train young people.
Yeah.
Be more nimble.
Like start kind of going on like career or trade or whatever, like earlier on, like not waiting till your last 2 years of college to get into the specific skill set that you actually thrive in.
Absolutely, and you talked about government addressing these, but I think government and education are unique or similar in that oftentimes the change is slow.
Yeah.
And the things that we're producing and the things that we're doing are meant to address needs that no longer exist.
Yeah.
Or they aren't tailored to the unique circumstance we face today.
Like it's funny, even thinking about how like in 3rd grade I learned my multiplication tables and I still know 7 times 7 is 49 and of course
Sure.
but do I need that? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't. You have a calculator.
And I think we should be optimistic about the future. I think when I was born with your husband Danny, there were a lot of people that lamented about peak population starvation, nuclear fallout, poor environmental outcomes, and I don't think any of those things came true.
Right.
And
Y2K, that didn't happen. I still had to turn in that paper that January.
Correct. Nobody predicted a future that would be better. Not perfect.
Yeah.
There are still challenges that we need to address, but better.
Yeah.
And I think that the next 30 years will be better.
I like that, and
Yeah.
I'm going to stand with you on that one too. I think I had a cybersecurity expert on a few days ago, and he was very gloom and doom about AI. But the one thing he said that I liked was he was like, we're going to see cures to diseases coming out really soon, like gene editing, like amazing things happening. Like there's
Correct.
so much information right at your fingertips. I think that there is a lot of great things that we just have to learn to adapt.
Yeah, and there are two ways that you can frame AI, and how about rather than say AI is something new, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
And is it a substitute for labor? Will it displace it and create joblessness, or will it be complementary and make people more productive? And I think this is just the next evolution in the way that we do things.
Right. And that's the thing, it's like if somebody might lose a job because, like, so for us, we don't have as many people working. We don't have a camera operator because we got these robotic cameras that can be programmed, like I was telling you earlier. But those people have new jobs, and hopefully one that is better for their skill sets, right? Because it
Correct.
doesn't take the most creative, it doesn't really challenge you intellectually and emotionally to move a camera maybe, right?
Yes.
So I guess the hope is, if we're going to be optimists here, is that the people whose job is taken by a machine, they'll find something that's much more fulfilling for them.
And if you go back to when industry started, I think the first industry displaced people that would hand weave wool into thread, and it displaced their industry entirely.
Right.
And that process has repeated itself. Adam Smith called it creative destruction, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And back to my point about government needing to be nimble and being able to change to meet the needs of people, this new form of tools will displace people, and we want to make sure that we can address those costs and prepare them to compete in an era that we don't understand yet.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of a different topic, but not really. I want to talk about farming a little bit more.
Sure.
A couple of different questions for you, but one thing would be in terms of these like new tools and technology and drones and robotics and that kind of thing. Is any of that something you're implementing in farming?
Well, I'll go back to my scale and how small families are at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Both Jen and I have to work full-time to subsidize our farming habit, and we are blessed. I have no complaints. We love it. But oftentimes the cost of implementing drones or driverless vehicles and so on are an indivisible setup cost. It's a barrier of entry, and it makes farms that are larger more capable.
Yeah.
And once they adopt those things, then they have an advantage.
Right.
But no, although farming, if I looked at the way that we farm versus my grandfather, it's not the same.
You're much more advanced.
Yeah.
You have some stuff, right?
Yeah, I look at my grandfather and great-grandfather and think they're caricatures out of a John Steinbeck novel.
Right.
They worked in the summer heat of Northern California up and down the valley to pay their mortgage.
Did they get a water witch to find their well where to drill?
I don't know that, but I know that farming today, it's in the air conditioner. You close the door on a harvester or a shaker, and you have an iPod jack,
Yeah.
a heated seat. When you process walnuts, for example, if somebody touches the walnut, even at our size, something went wrong.
Okay,
'Cause
right.
we shake them on the ground, we sweep them up,
Yeah.
we run them through a huller, we dry them, and it's, for the most part, fully mechanized.
So I got a question about walnuts. So if in Butte County, I don't know about Tehama County, but is an almond and almond also in Tehama County?
Well,
Or is that just a Chico thing?
no, I think it's a North State
Okay.
thing.
So,
As a PV grad, I would always say almond bowl when we played
right,
Chico
the
High.
almond bowl.
But yeah, it's more proper.
Yes.
But I think if I'm speaking in the setting of a fellow farmers, I would say almonds.
Okay, so I was told, being a transplant moving here, I said, why do you say almond? And they say, well, because it's an almond when it's on the tree, but when it's off the tree, it's an almond because after you shake them, you shake
Sure.
the L out of them, right? So I always wondered, and since you're a walnut farmer, why isn't it a walnut when it comes off the tree if the L gets shaken out?
I haven't heard that, although I do think the first pronunciation in the dictionary is almond, just like salmon.
Oh, okay.
Although I do believe
That's a good
individuals say
argument.
salmon,
Salmon.
but I don't eat salmon, I eat salmon.
Never eaten salmon either.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about pesticides a little bit.
Sure.
I'm always trying to figure out, because I'm very, what's the word? Not the word cheap, frugal, right? I try to be very smart about my grocery shopping, and I buy a lot of produce, and to buy complete organic would be just really expensive for me. So I get some stuff from the farmer's market locally, and then I go to Winco and I just get the regular old broccoli. Are the pesticides that we use really that bad? Can we really wash them off? And are the organic pesticides, because I know organic farmers still can use something that just maybe hasn't been proven to be as bad yet, right? Is it really worth it?
Well, the last part there is true. Just because you're organic doesn't mean you use pesticides. They just aren't manufactured synthetically.
Okay.
I think what makes a pesticide harmful is its concentration. And there's a trade-off. You should be skeptical of tests that the FDA and EPA do to certify the safety of pesticides.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes the adverse effects of exposure or consumption take time to manifest, and we study, is in the next year or two, does it impact the health of a human?
Right.
And there is a trade-off, not to sound like an economist, but pesticides absolutely improve yields.
Yeah.
And make food more cost. It allows it to be consumed in masses.
Right. Well, I mean, anybody who's had a backyard garden, I fight snails all the time.
Yes.
Right? It's very frustrating that I go out there and I'm trying to pick my jalapenos or whatever it is, and the snails have destroyed a lot of what I wanted to eat.
Correct.
So I understand that it's important if you actually want to have a crop be productive, but I mean, I just wonder, because you always hear about Butte County, Tehama County, Shasta County, we have really high cancer rates, higher than a lot of the rest of the state.
Tehama County is the highest in the state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's always that question of like, well, causation versus correlation, right? So you can never say for sure, oh, it's because of agricultural whatever. You can't say that.
Yeah.
You can't prove it.
We,
But you have to look at it.
Jen and I talk about this a lot. We've made a couple of trips to Europe, and for better or worse, we kind of make our way through Germany eating bread and drinking beer, and then we come back, losing weight.
Yeah.
And if you've watched any of these World Cup reels about Europeans coming over and eating at Buc-ee's or In-N-Out or Taco Bell, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're going to go back heavier.
Right.
There might be something to that. It would be nice to know that what we're eating is food.
Right. Yeah.
And so much of what you read on the back of the label of things,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like food.
Right, for
Yeah.
sure, really processed food.
Yeah.
But so I guess what concerns me though is like I work so hard to eat like a lot of produce, right?
Sure.
Like I just want to eat the actual eggplant or kale or whatever it is. But sometimes I wonder like, am I just flooding my system with herbicides and pesticides, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, is there really is anything safe these days?
Well, you can look at the yield per acre the past 100 years, and it really has been straight up. And
Yeah.
I think pesticides is part of that. I think chemical fertilizers, your macronutrients, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus are part of it. I think there's a potential in GMOs. I know that term also gets a bad name, but if we can engineer pest-resistant crops,
Yeah.
then maybe there might be a future where we don't
Right.
need to apply
That's
pesticides.
kind of what I have heard about GMOs. It's like it does get a bad name, but I'm not really sure. I think the theory is like, oh well, some things are genetically modified to withstand Roundup, right? So
Sure.
we can dump all this Roundup on them, and this plant will be okay. So I could see why that being a GMO might expose you to more Roundup, but just the simple fact of being genetically modified in itself doesn't actually make a plant
And
not
I think
good
there
for
are
you.
two primary GMOs. There's herbicide resistant, so the glyphosate resistant
Right.
crops, beans, corn, etc. And then there's insect resistant crops.
Okay.
And I think we should separate those.
Oh yeah, because if it's going to be bad for an insect, what does
Why
that
isn't
mean
it
for
bad for us? Yeah.
Yeah.
Touche. And I can make the argument both ways. I think you should be skeptical of the safety of glyphosate if, for no other reason than the individual that was in charge of the FDA to approve its use later got a job with Monsanto, who produces it.
Yeah.
And I think that's most of us feel that way about corporate capture, regardless of
Yeah.
the industry.
Yeah. It's frustrating and it's scary. I mean, it works really well. I used to use it all the time in my garden, like in my yard, when I cared about it looking perfectly manicured and I wanted my neighbors to think that I had the most beautiful yard. And now I just kind of have a little bit of an overgrown yard because I don't want to touch that stuff. So
But if I was going to argue for the use of it, you'd have to make the point that it's expensive to be healthy in the United States.
Yeah.
All of those processed foods are inexpensive versus
Yeah.
the things that are healthy. And without pesticides, inevitably one of the outcomes would be is the healthiest foods would become more expensive.
Right.
And we should want a world where those are accessible
Right.
and consumed by more.
You know what I've heard that is kind of a cool thing is like sprouting, apparently, because I mean anybody.
What is sprouting?
So like literally sprouting, like if you get the beans or the seeds of like broccoli seeds, like if you live somewhere like a food desert, right?
Okay.
Maybe you don't have a backyard garden, but you want to have that nutrition that apparently if you get some broccoli seeds and put it on a paper towel in your windowsill and create sprouts. And you can eat those sprouts on your burger, and you're getting all the nutrition of the broccoli in the
sure.
small, and without having to spray it with pesticides or have garden space. Like there's this whole sprouting movement to kind of address economic.
I'll have to look into
shortfalls.
that.
Yeah. And sprouts are good.
Sprouts are. Well, fresh anything is
I
good.
know.
My family owns and operates a fruit stand in Dairyville, Julia's.
Oh.
And they've ruined tomatoes for my children. They will not eat a tomato that is not grown in the
Right.
summer. And they'll eat them like apples, just like they're red onions,
Mm-hmm.
because fresher produce has better flavor.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they're just far more enjoyable.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I know you have a job as a Tehama County supervisor. We didn't really talk about very much except for the things that I'm the most interested in. Other than what we've covered, for people who've never been to a Tehama County supervisor meeting, what's up next? What's on the agenda? What are some of your goals for the year ahead?
Well, thank you for asking. I took the first year as a supervisor, fully cognizant that I don't have a full understanding of how the mechanics of a county works. And now in year 2, I am looking forward to achieving a few things. I'm very proud that our annex department heads meet regularly. I think one of the criticisms I get is that building or planning or environmental health, public works, not to single them out, are unaware of permits pulled in other departments. And we have them meeting regularly to try to make the process of being a commercial in Tehama County better. We've changed the planning rules so that if you are a small farmer, you are legally allowed to produce food for consumers. There's an ag tourism permit coming down the pipeline. We would like to create regulations so that we are ready if a data center would like to come, for example, or any other industry. I'm a full believer that it should be a kitchen sink approach. There is no one industry that I prefer over another. I would just like Tehama County to be open for business and to facilitate it. I'd like to not take multiple bites out of the apple. And what I mean by that is when we give a citizen a checklist of things to do to receive a permit, that when they accomplish those things, we don't give them a second set.
Got it.
I would like these things to, I would like Tehama County to be synonymous with the best place to do business in the North State.
Yeah.
Yes. I would like a durable groundwater plan that does assuage the concerns of both farmers and homeowners, that we will protect our aquifers and try to be a bit more transparent. I would just like the county to function a little bit better. It is my home. I came home from grad school because this is where I wanted to farm and live, and I would like my home to be a little bit better when I leave.
Yeah. How do you do outreach to like data centers or like investors who would come and bring jobs and invest a lot of money in a place that has a ton of open space where it really wouldn't be disruptive? How do you, say you get policies in place that cut through some of the red tape, how do you attract them? How do you get the word out?
Direct outreach.
Okay, simple as that.
Yeah,
Recruiting, essentially,
I
kind
think
of
if we
advertising?
can create an environment in Tehama County that is conducive to that type of thing, then I would like to directly reach out. I was able to connect with an individual that is advocating for Forever California last week in Fairfield, and I have a few connections in the Bay. Frank Holland allowed me to speak at the Google campus in October about the challenges facing rural California to the Coalition for New California, or the New Coalition for California. And I would like to at least make it known to people in those circles that we would be a wonderful place to come and do business. We're right on the I-5 corridor. We're right along the railroad tracks. We're 12 to 15% less expensive than our neighbors to live. We have a wonderful population that would love to get to work. Okay.
So, Greg, if somebody who lives in District 5 has some great ideas and they'd like to get a hold of you, what's the best way to connect?
Call me directly, 530-646-8391. I have said this and I've held to it, that if you'd like to meet and have coffee and discuss things, I would love to do that. I think the temperature and tenor and just general temperature of social media has made me regress just a little bit.
Right. Face-to-face human connection.
I think technology is wonderful in social media, but it often loses the inflection that you would have in a conversation face-to-face.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's why I wanted you to come here in person today. Thank you so much for being here, Greg. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for listening today. I decided to offer this podcast after enough of you let me know that you wanted a deeper dive into certain stories than you get on our TV broadcasts. We elect certain people to represent our voice, but who are they really? My hope is that this podcast answers that question. I love your feedback, and I want to know who you'd like to hear from next. Just fill out that comment section and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify.